My dear friends, what I'm about to share with you has been locked away for nearly a century. These are influence techniques so powerful, so profoundly transformative, that I was advised by my closest confidants to keep them secret. Why? Because in the wrong hands, these methods could be used for manipulation rather than elevation. But I've come to realize something crucial. The world has changed, and you, the conscious seekers of today, are ready for this level of truth. Let me take you back to a cold December evening in 1932. I was sitting in a dimly lit study with three of the most powerful men in America. Names I cannot mention even now. They had summoned me urgently after reading the manuscript of my latest research. Hill, one of them said, his voice barely above a whisper, "You cannot publish this. These techniques, they're too powerful for public consumption." That night, I made a decision that haunted me for decades. I removed 5 complete chapters from my work, 5 techniques that could have accelerated human achievement beyond imagination. But I understood their concern. These weren't just communication strategies. They were consciousness-altering technologies. Now, as I share them with you, I need you to understand something vital. These techniques work because they operate on levels of human psychology that most people never access. They bypass the conscious mind and speak directly to the deepest parts of human nature. Use them wisely, use them ethically, use them to elevate, never to diminish. Technique number 1, the invisible thread. This first technique is so subtle, so elegant, that the person experiencing it has no idea what's happening. Yet it creates a bond so powerful that they'll feel mysteriously drawn to you for reasons they can't explain. I discovered this by accident during my interview with John D. Rockefeller. I noticed something peculiar. Whenever he wanted someone to feel deeply connected to him, he would do 3 specific things that seemed unrelated. But when I analyzed my notes later, I realized he was weaving what I now call the invisible thread. Here's how it works. Human beings have an unconscious scoring system. Every interaction either adds to or subtracts from an invisible emotional bank account. Most people make random deposits and withdrawals, but masters of influence make strategic deposits that compound exponentially. The 3-strand method. First strand, synchronized breathing. Without being obvious, begin matching the rhythm of the other person's breath. Not perfectly, that would be creepy, but close enough that your nervous systems begin to sync. This happens below conscious awareness, but it creates a profound sense of harmony. I tested this with skeptical businessmen, hostile critics, even my own doubting family members. Within minutes of synchronized breathing, their defensive walls would mysteriously dissolve. They'd lean in, their eyes would soften, they'd say things like, "I don't know why, but I feel like I can trust you." The key is naturalness. You must practice until it becomes second nature, not a conscious technique. When you master this, you create a biological resonance that people feel but cannot identify. Second strand, micro-affirmations. This is where it gets fascinating. Every person has what I call identity anchors, core aspects of themselves they desperately want validated. The master influencer detects these anchors and affirms them so subtly that it bypasses the ego's defenses. It's not flattery. Flattery is obvious and often rejected. It's recognition of something true but unseen. For instance, instead of saying "you're so smart," you might say, "I notice you process information in an unusual way. You see patterns others miss." The key is specificity and subtlety. You're not trying to impress them. You're showing them you see them, really see them, in ways others don't. This creates a bond deeper than any surface compliment ever could. Third strand, future memory implantation. This is the most powerful and least understood aspect. You create a subtle suggestion of future connection that the subconscious mind accepts as inevitable. You don't say, "We should get together sometime." That's weak and forgettable. Instead, you might say, "When we're having coffee next month, remind me to tell you about the Stanford experiment." You've presupposed the future meeting. You've created curiosity. You've planted a seed that will grow in their unconscious mind. But here's the master key. These 3 strands must be woven together naturally, organically, without any sense of technique. The moment it feels mechanical, the spell is broken. When Andrew Carnegie first demonstrated this to me, I watched him turn a hostile union leader into an ally in less than 20 minutes. The man entered ready for war. He left feeling like he'd found a long-lost brother. Carnegie hadn't argued. He hadn't negotiated. He had simply woven the invisible thread. But I must warn you, this technique carries tremendous responsibility. When you create this level of connection, people become genuinely attached to you. They'll seek your approval. They'll value your opinion above others. Never abuse this trust. Always use it to elevate and empower. I've seen men use this technique to build empires of trust and collaboration. I've also seen others use it to create unhealthy emotional dependencies. The difference lies in intention. Always ask yourself, am I serving this person's highest good? If the answer is no, refrain. Technique number 2, the Emotional Alchemy Protocol. This second technique was so controversial that 3 publishers refused to print it. They said it gave too much power to the reader. And they were right. Because once you understand how to transmute emotional states, you become capable of transforming any human interaction. I learned this from a mysterious man I met in Chicago. He was known only as the Persuader, and wealthy industrialists paid him enormous sums to negotiate their most difficult deals. His success rate was 94%, unheard of in high-stakes negotiations. After months of persistence, he finally agreed to show me his method. What I witnessed changed my understanding of human psychology forever. Watch carefully, Hill, he said as we entered a boardroom filled with angry shareholders. These men are radiating hostility. Most people would try to calm them or defend against them. Both approaches fail. Instead, I'm going to perform emotional alchemy. The 4-phase transformation. Phase 1, absorption without resistance. When someone projects a strong negative emotion, your instinct is to shield yourself or push back. This creates emotional armoring that actually intensifies the conflict. Instead, the master becomes temporarily permeable. You allow their emotion to pass through you without sticking. You acknowledge it without absorbing it. I can feel how frustrated you are, you might say. That frustration is completely valid. You're not agreeing with their position. You're validating their emotion. This does something profound. It breaks the expected pattern. They're prepared for resistance, for argument, for defensiveness. When they encounter acceptance instead, their emotional momentum dissipates. It's like removing the wind from an emotional storm's sails. Phase 2, the alchemical bridge. This is where the magic happens. You create a bridge between their current emotional state and a more resourceful one. But, and this is crucial, you don't try to leap directly from negative to positive. That's jarring and usually rejected. Instead, you build stepping stones, from anger to frustration, from frustration to concern, from concern to curiosity, from curiosity to possibility. Each step is small enough to feel natural, yet the cumulative effect is transformational. I watched the Persuader do this with surgical precision. Your anger shows how much you care about this company, he said to the hostile shareholders. And that caring, that passion, is exactly what we need to find a solution. What would need to happen for you to feel that passion working for us rather than against us? The room transformed. Men who had entered ready to destroy began proposing solutions. Their destructive energy had been alchemically transmuted into creative force. Phase 3, emotional leadership. Once you've built the bridge, you must lead them across it. This requires you to embody the emotional state you want them to experience. Not fake it, embody it. Your nervous system becomes a tuning fork. Through your voice tone, body language, and energetic presence, you broadcast the frequency of calm confidence, creative possibility, or whatever state serves the situation. Remember, emotions are contagious, but the strongest, most coherent emotional state in any room tends to entrain the others. When you master emotional alchemy, you become that strongest state. It's a form of leadership that transcends position or authority. Phase 4, the lock-in. This is what separates temporary influence from lasting transformation. You must anchor the new emotional state to a specific action or decision. Otherwise, old patterns reassert themselves the moment they leave your presence. The persuader demonstrated this brilliantly. Once he had transformed the shareholders' hostility into collaborative problem-solving, he immediately channeled that energy into specific commitments. While we're all feeling this spirit of possibility, he said, let's capture it by agreeing to 3 specific actions we'll each take this week. But here's what you must understand. This technique requires genuine emotional mastery. You cannot guide others to states you cannot access yourself. You must first become an alchemist of your own emotions before you can transform others. I spent years developing this capacity, learning to transmute my own fear into excitement, my doubt into curiosity, my anger into determination. Only then could I reliably guide others through the same transformations. The practice I developed was simple yet profound. Every morning, I would spend 30 minutes deliberately experiencing different emotions, learning to shift between them at will. Over time, I became master of my inner emotional landscape, and only then could I truly serve others as an emotional guide. Technique number 3, the reality distortion field. This third technique is so powerful it frightens me even now. I've seen it used to build empires and destroy lives. It's the ability to create such a compelling vision of reality that others abandon their own perceptions and adopt yours instead. I first encountered this phenomenon during a private dinner with Thomas Edison. We were discussing his latest invention, which had failed spectacularly in testing. His investors were ready to withdraw. His team was demoralized. By any objective measure, the project was doomed. But Edison did something I'll never forget. He began speaking about the invention not as it was, but as it would be. Not with empty optimism, but with such specific, sensory-rich detail that you could almost see it working perfectly. Gentlemen, he said, his eyes gleaming with absolute certainty, I've already seen this working. I've held the perfected version in my hands. I've watched it transform industries. We're not trying to invent something, we're simply catching up to what already exists in the realm of possibility. Within an hour, the entire room had shifted. Demoralized engineers were excitedly sketching modifications. Skeptical investors were calculating expanded production capacity. Edison hadn't changed any facts. He had changed the field of perception itself. The architecture of reality distortion. Layer 1. Absolute internal certainty. This cannot be faked. You must first sell yourself so completely on your vision that doubt becomes impossible. This requires what I call future memory, experiencing your vision so vividly that your nervous system believes it has already happened. I developed a practice I called the Edison hour. Every morning, I would spend 60 minutes living in my desired future as if it were my present reality, not visualizing it, inhabiting it, feeling the emotions, sensing the details, experiencing the relationships and achievements as current fact. This does something profound to your consciousness. You begin operating from your vision rather than toward it. Your words carry the authority of someone reporting facts rather than expressing hopes. When you speak from this place, others feel the difference unconsciously. Layer 2, sensory enrollment. Abstract visions don't move people. Specific, sensory-rich experiences do. The master of reality distortion doesn't say, "This will be successful." They say, "When you walk into our offices 2 years from now, you'll smell fresh coffee brewing, hear the hum of productive activity, and see the wall covered with letters from customers whose lives we've transformed." You're not describing, you're transplanting. You're literally moving people's consciousness into your envisioned future and letting them experience it firsthand. This creates a neural imprint that their brain begins moving toward. I perfected this technique through years of practice. I learned to paint futures so vivid that people could taste them, smell them, feel them. They would leave our conversations already nostalgic for a future that hadn't yet occurred. Layer 3, inevitability framing. This is subtle but crucial. You speak about your vision not as something that might happen, but as something that is in the process of happening. The only variable is timing and their participation. Notice the difference. If we succeed, we could help millions, versus, as we help our first million customers, we'll learn exactly how to serve the next 10 million. The second statement presupposes success and focuses on scaling rather than achieving. This linguistic framing creates a profound psychological effect. The brain begins organizing information around the assumption of success rather than the possibility of failure. Layer 4. Enrollment through identity. The most powerful aspect of reality distortion is when people see themselves as characters in your vision. Not employees or investors, but heroes in an unfolding epic. Edison was a master at this. He would tell his engineers, "History will remember you as the men who illuminated the world." He wasn't offering a job, he was offering immortality. He wasn't requesting work, he was inviting greatness. When people see themselves as essential parts of a larger story, their motivation transcends compensation or recognition. They become evangelists for the vision because it has become their vision. But here's the critical warning. Reality distortion is like fire. Used wisely, it lights the way and warms hearts. Used carelessly, it burns everything it touches. I've seen men use this technique to build hospitals, schools, and movements that elevated humanity. I've also seen it used to create false promises, impossible expectations, and devastating disappointments. The ethical guideline is simple but absolute. Never distort reality to deceive. Only distort it to reveal higher possibilities that commitment and effort can manifest. Your vision must be achievable, even if it seems impossible to those thinking conventionally. Always ask yourself, am I creating a vision that genuinely serves those who embrace it? If the answer is anything but an unequivocal yes, reconsider your approach. Technique number 4, the Charismatic Frequency. What I'm about to share contradicts everything you've been taught about charisma. You've been told it's about confidence, charm, or personality. That's surface level. True charisma operates at a frequency most people never access. I discovered this truth during a remarkable evening with Nikola Tesla. Yes, the legendary inventor. He was known as an eccentric recluse, yet when he chose to, he could fill a room with such magnetic presence that hardened skeptics would hang on his every word. "Mr. Hill," he told me in his thick accent, "everything is frequency. Light, sound, matter itself. Why would human influence be different? Charisma is simply broadcasting at a frequency that resonates with the deepest human longings." That night, he demonstrated something that shattered my understanding of personal magnetism. Without changing his words, appearance, or actions, he shifted his internal frequency. The effect was astounding. One moment he was invisible. The next, every eye in the room was drawn to him like iron filings to a magnet. The Frequency Activation Protocol. Frequency 1, the void state. This is counterintuitive, but essential. Before you can broadcast powerfully, you must first become empty. Not vacant, spacious. Most people's energy is cluttered with neediness, agenda, and self-consciousness. This creates static that repels rather than attracts. I developed a practice called the empty cup. Before important interactions, I spend 5 minutes releasing all attachment to outcomes. I imagine myself as a clear, empty vessel, not trying to get anything, prove anything, or be anything, just purely present. This creates what Tesla called coherent neutrality, a state where your energy is unified and undistorted. From this state, you can broadcast any frequency clearly. It's like cleaning a lens suddenly. Your true light can shine through without distortion. Frequency 2, unconditional positive regard. This is not about liking everyone. It's about seeing the highest potential in every person and relating to that potential rather than their current manifestation. When you look at someone through this frequency, something remarkable happens. They feel seen, not as they are, but as they could be. This activates dormant aspects of their personality. They literally become more attractive, more intelligent, more capable in your presence. I tested this with hardened criminals, bitter critics, and broken souls. Without exception, when I held them in unconditional positive regard for just 5 minutes, they would soften, open, and often reveal their hidden dreams and fears. The practice is simple yet profound. Before each interaction, I spend a moment seeing the person as if they had already realized their highest potential. This shifts everything: my tone, my body language, my entire presence communicates this elevated vision. Frequency 3. Embodied purpose. Charismatic people aren't trying to be charismatic. They're so aligned with their purpose that they become a pure expression of it. This creates an energetic coherence that others find irresistibly attractive. Think about it. When someone is completely absorbed in something they love, they become fascinating. A master craftsman at work, a mother gazing at her child, an artist lost in creation. They all broadcast this frequency of absorbed purpose. The key is to connect every interaction to your deeper purpose. Not artificially, but genuinely. When you see each conversation as an opportunity to fulfill your mission, you stop performing and start serving. This shift is felt instantly by everyone around you. Frequency 4, the catalyst state. This is the highest frequency of charisma. You become not just attractive, but transformative. Your presence alone causes others to access higher states of consciousness. Tesla explained it brilliantly. When two tuning forks are in proximity, the one vibrating at a higher, more coherent frequency will entrain the other. Human consciousness works the same way. Become the higher frequency, and others will naturally rise to meet you. This isn't mystical. It's physics applied to human interaction. When you maintain a high, coherent frequency of possibility, creativity, and love, you create a field that elevates everyone in it. I've witnessed this phenomenon countless times. When I enter a room maintaining this frequency, the energy of the entire room shifts. Conversations become deeper. Ideas flow more freely. People access parts of themselves that usually remain dormant. But here's the crucial understanding: you cannot fake frequency. You cannot pretend to be empty when you're full of agenda. You cannot mimic positive regard when you're judging. You cannot perform purpose when you're disconnected from it. This is why I spent decades doing the inner work, clearing my shadows, healing my wounds, aligning with my purpose. Only then could I broadcast these frequencies authentically. Only then did I become truly charismatic. Charisma, I learned, is not something you do. It's something you are when all the obstacles to your natural radiance have been removed. Technique number 5, the quantum influence matrix. This final technique is the most advanced. It's what happens when you combine all the others into a unified field of influence that operates across time and space. I call it quantum because it defies conventional understanding of how influence works. I discovered this phenomenon late in my research. I noticed that the most influential people in history, Jesus, Buddha, Lincoln, Gandhi, continued to influence millions long after their death. Their words, recorded centuries ago, still transform lives today. How? The answer came during a conversation with Einstein himself. We were discussing the nature of time and consciousness when he said something that revolutionized my thinking. Hill, time is not linear as we experience it. When you speak from a certain depth of truth, your words exist outside of time. They become what I call consciousness artifacts, permanent impressions in the field of human awareness. This explains something I had observed but couldn't understand. When certain people spoke, their words didn't just convey information, they carried a transmission. Years later, you could recall not just what they said, but how their words made you feel, think, and see differently. The quantum influence components. Component 1, archetypal resonance. Every human carries within them universal patterns: the hero, the sage, the creator, the sovereign. Quantum influence speaks directly to these archetypal levels. Your words become keys that unlock dormant potentials. Instead of speaking to John the accountant, you speak to the part of John that yearns to be heroic. Instead of addressing Mary the mother, you address the wise woman within her. This doesn't ignore their current identity, it expands it. I learned to recognize these archetypal hungers in everyone I met. The businessman yearning to be a philosopher, the scientist longing to be a poet, the laborer dreaming of being a leader. When you speak to these hidden aspects, you create influence that transcends the moment. The practice I developed was to spend time before each important interaction, identifying which archetype the person was secretly seeking to embody. Then I would speak to that part of them, watching it grow and respond. Component 2, linguistic alchemy. At the quantum level, words aren't just symbols. They're vibrational patterns that restructure consciousness. The masters understand how to combine words in ways that create new neural pathways in the listener's brain. This goes beyond clever phrasing. It's about understanding the deep structure of language and how certain word combinations create specific states of consciousness. For instance, the phrase, "What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail?" doesn't just ask a question. It temporarily deletes the fear program from consciousness. I spent years studying the linguistic patterns of history's greatest influencers. I found they all used specific structures, presuppositions that bypassed resistance, metaphors that rewired perception, questions that shattered limitations, and commands that activated dormant powers. My research revealed that certain linguistic structures are universal in their effects. Questions beginning with "what if?" open possibilities. Statements beginning with "when you" presuppose future events. Metaphors comparing challenges to games or adventures reduce anxiety and increase engagement. Component 3. Morphic transmission. This is the most esoteric aspect, but I verified it through decades of observation. When you embody a truth deeply enough, you create what Rupert Sheldrake would later call a morphic field, an invisible template that others can access and download. Think of it this way. When Edison fully embodied the consciousness of an inventor, he made it easier for others to access that same state. When Carnegie embodied wealth consciousness, those around him found it easier to think prosperously. You become a broadcasting station for states of consciousness. This is why being around certain people changes you, not through their words or actions, but through the field they emanate. When you develop quantum influence, your very presence becomes a catalyst for others' evolution. I observed this phenomenon in all the great leaders I studied. They created what I called fields of possibility around them. In their presence, people thought bigger thoughts, dreamed bolder dreams, and believed in possibilities that previously seemed impossible. Component 4. The eternal echo. This is what separates temporary influence from legacy impact. When you speak from the deepest truth you can access, aligned with universal principles, your words create ripples that continue expanding long after you're gone. I designed my work with this principle in mind. Every book, every speech, every conversation was created not just for the immediate audience, but for generations unborn. I asked myself, will these words still serve someone a century from now? This requires tremendous discipline. You must resist the temptation to be merely current, clever, or popular. Instead, you anchor your influence in timeless truths expressed through timely examples. The Master Integration Protocol. Now comes the crucial question: how do you integrate these 5 forbidden techniques into a coherent practice? The answer is both simple and demanding. First, commitment to mastery. You must commit to mastery, not dabbling. These techniques are like musical instruments. They require daily practice to develop proficiency. Start with one technique and practice it for 30 days before adding another. I created what I called the Master's Morning Ritual. Every day, I would spend the first hour practicing these principles. 15 minutes of void state cultivation, charismatic frequency, 15 minutes of future memory creation, reality distortion, 15 minutes of emotional alchemy on my own states, 15 minutes weaving invisible threads with people I would meet that day. Second, ethical clarity. You must maintain ethical clarity. Before using any technique, ask yourself, am I serving the highest good of all involved? If the answer is anything but a clear yes, refrain. Power without principle is the path to destruction. I developed what I called the mirror test. Every night, I would look into my own eyes in the mirror and ask, have I used my influence today in ways I can be proud of? If I couldn't answer yes without hesitation, I would examine my actions and correct course. Third, the inner work. You must do the inner work. These techniques amplify who you are. If you're filled with fear, greed, or manipulation, that's what you'll broadcast. But if you've done the work of purifying your intentions and aligning with service, you'll broadcast elevation and empowerment. The inner work I found most essential included Loran daily meditation to cultivate the void state, journaling practice to clarify intentions and release shadows, service to others to maintain humility and perspective, continuous study to expand understanding and wisdom, the advanced combinations. When you master the individual techniques, you can begin combining them in powerful ways. The ascension spiral. Combine the invisible thread with emotional alchemy. As you weave connection, simultaneously guide the person through elevated emotional states. This creates a bond associated with positive transformation feelings. The visionary vortex. Unite reality distortion with charismatic frequency. As you project your vision, maintain the catalyst state that helps others access their highest potential within that vision. The quantum architect. Integrate all five. Use the invisible thread to connect, emotional alchemy to elevate, reality distortion to inspire, charismatic frequency to magnetize, and quantum influence to create lasting impact. The final warnings. With great power comes great responsibility. These techniques can create profound changes in people's lives. Use them with the same care a surgeon uses a scalpel. Never for manipulation. If you find yourself using these techniques to get something at another's expense, stop immediately. The karma of misused influence is severe and inevitable. Always with permission. Even though these techniques operate below conscious awareness, respect free will. Create opportunities for people to choose, not situations where they feel coerced. Remember humanity. In your journey toward mastery, don't lose touch with your humanity. The most powerful techniques become invisible when they flow from genuine care and connection. Conclusion: the legacy of influence. As I conclude this revelation of long-hidden techniques, I feel the weight of what I've shared. For nearly a century, these secrets remained locked away, known only to the few who discovered them independently or received them through private mentorship. Now they are yours, but with this knowledge comes a choice that will define not just your success, but your very character. You see, every technique I've shared is morally neutral. Like a hammer can build a house or destroy a window, these techniques can elevate or exploit, empower or enslave, illuminate or deceive. The choice is yours, and yours alone. I've seen men use these techniques to build movements that liberated nations. I've seen others use them to create cults that imprisoned minds. The same power that can inspire someone to reach their greatness can be used to keep them small and dependent. The path of responsible mastery. If you choose the path of responsible mastery, here's what awaits you. First, you will be tested. As your abilities grow, you'll face temptations, opportunities to use your influence for quick gain, for ego gratification, for control over others. These tests aren't obstacles, they're essential parts of your development. Each time you choose service over exploitation, your true power grows. Second, you'll become a beacon. As you embody these techniques ethically, you'll become a magnetic force for good. People will be drawn to you not because you manipulate them, but because they sense in you someone who can help them become who they're meant to be. This is the true reward, becoming a catalyst for human evolution. Third, your impact will multiply. When you use these techniques to elevate others, you create a ripple effect. Each person you empower goes on to empower others. Your influence becomes exponential, creating waves of positive transformation that continue long after you're gone. The protection practices. To ensure you stay on the path of light, I offer you these protection practices. The daily purification ritual. Each morning, before engaging with others, spend time purifying your intentions. Ask yourself, how can I serve today? How can I use my influence to elevate? This sets your inner compass to true north. The Council of Sages. Create in your mind a council of sages, historical or imaginary figures whose character you admire. Before important decisions, consult this inner council. Ask yourself, what would they say about my choice to use influence this way? The evening review. Each night, review how you used your influence that day. Celebrate the moments when you elevated others. Learn from the moments when you missed the mark. This constant reflection cycle ensures continuous growth in wisdom as well as power. The final invitation. Now I leave you with an invitation that is also a challenge. Become worthy of these techniques before you master them fully. Work on your character more diligently than you work on your abilities. Purify your motivations more thoroughly than you refine your techniques. For in the end, your influence will always reflect who you are at your core. If you accept this challenge, if you commit to using these techniques only for the highest good, then I welcome you to an ancient brotherhood. a lineage of men and women throughout history who understood true power and chose to use it wisely. Remember, these techniques are not the end, they are the means. The end is the evolution of human consciousness, the elevation of the human spirit, the realization of human potential. As you go forth into the world armed with this knowledge, carry with you this final truth. The greatest influence is not what you exercise over others, but what you exercise over yourself. Master yourself first, and mastery of others will follow naturally. May you use these techniques to ignite greatness in every life you touch. May you become a living channel through which the power of elevation flows into the world. And may you, at the end of your journey, look back and see a trail of transformed lives, realized potentials, and manifested dreams. This is true power. This is true influence. This is your destiny, if you choose to claim it. The world is waiting for what you'll do with what you now know. Use it well. Napoleon Hill. Dictated but never published. Until now. My friend, we've reached the moment that separates the dreamers from the doers. The moment Andrew Carnegie spoke of when he told me, Hill, knowledge without action is the beginning of failure. But knowledge with immediate action, that's the birth of empires. You've just received 5 techniques that men paid fortunes to learn. Techniques that built industrial empires, transformed nations, and changed the course of history. But here's what Carnegie understood that most never grasp. The power isn't in the knowing, it's in the immediate doing. Think about it. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at a crossroads. Down one path lies the comfortable road of good intentions. You'll tell yourself you'll use these techniques someday. You'll file them away with all the other powerful knowledge you've collected but never applied. Down the other path lies immediate transformation, the path where you choose one technique, just one, and commit to practicing it within the next 24 hours. This is the path of the masters. This is the path that Carnegie, Edison, Ford, and every great achiever chose. Let me share something Tesla told me that haunts me still. The universe rewards speed of implementation, Hill. Every moment between learning and doing, the power dissipates like electricity without a conductor. Act while the current is strong. So here's what I'm asking you to do. No, what I'm challenging you to do. First, if these techniques have stirred something within you, if you feel that electric current of possibility, then subscribe to Napoleon Hill Mastermind Journeys right now. Not later, not tomorrow. Now, because success loves speed. Second, click that notification bell. Why? Because mastery isn't built in a single moment of inspiration. It's built through consistent exposure to transformative ideas. Every week, I'll share another suppressed secret, another forbidden technique, another key to unlock your dormant power. But here's the real test, the question that will reveal whether you're ready for this level of power. What is the one invisible barrier in your life that you've been tolerating, the relationship that drains you, the fear that paralyzes you, the belief that limits you, and which of these 5 techniques will you use tomorrow morning to begin dismantling it? This isn't a rhetorical question. I want you to answer it in the comments below. Be specific. Name the barrier. Name the technique. Name the exact time tomorrow you'll take action, because public declaration creates private obligation. And if you know someone, just one person, who's standing at their own crossroads, who's ready for transformation but doesn't know the path, share this video with them today. Not tomorrow, today, because the greatest use of power is to awaken it in others. You see, every generation faces this same choice. In 1908, when Carnegie first revealed these principles to me, he said something I'll never forget. Napoleon, I'm not giving you these secrets for you alone. I'm giving them to you for the millions who will come after. Your job isn't just to master them, it's to ensure they reach every soul ready to receive them. Now it's your turn. You've received the transmission. The question is, will you be a keeper of secrets or a creator of legacies? Will you join the ranks of those who almost changed their lives? Or will you join the brotherhood and sisterhood of those who grabbed destiny by the throat and said, today, everything changes? The clock is ticking. Every second you delay is a second of power lost. Every moment of hesitation is a moment of transformation denied. So I leave you with this final challenge, the same challenge I've issued to millions over the decades. You can either use these techniques to rise to greatness, or you can let them become another missed opportunity in a life of mediocrity. The choice, as always, is yours. But remember this, and let it burn into your consciousness. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, but only if it acts with definiteness of purpose, starting now. Your moment has arrived. Your techniques are revealed. Your path is clear. What happens next depends entirely on what you do in the next 60 seconds. Make Carnegie proud. Make yourself proud. But most importantly, make it happen. The world is waiting for your transformation. Begin now.